You can smell the Canadian air down here now, but I think it's fleeting, and we had a few of these days during our beautiful summer too, and I think this also will pass.
This runner is in denial of the changing seasons, jogging along the empty beach in a sleeveless shirt. And at Bayfront Park, a few children make the most of the last day of summer. But families know that true fall weather is not far away.
The crispness in the air, and it's just a beautiful, the fall colors, and it just feels wonderful, especially after the heat of the summer and the humidity.
Though it might not be the best time for the jungle gym, fall offers some special treats for kids too.
We have a pumpkin sale by our house, and I like to go to the pumpkin sale.
It's all part of what says fall to Northlanders, from jeans and sweatshirts to pumpkins and scarecrows, to quiet, empty beaches. Some are more than ready for the cooler temperatures because it means big business. At ski shops around town, employees are ready for people to notice that fall is here.
Yeah, I think they've woken up and literally and said, "Hey, we are going to have some cold weather this year," and they're coming in and getting pretty serious about buying.
This is what the scene looked like earlier this morning. Police responded to a car fire on 14th and 2nd Street. They found an elderly couple dead inside. This is what one neighbor saw.
They told me that there was a person driving down from Silver Bay or up in that area, and they think he was having like a heart attack or stroke, and he was trying to get up to the hospital.
But the victims never made it that far. Police say the couple collided with a car in this parking lot and then crashed into a garage nearby. That's when a small fire started.
Just to watch this, it's just like seeing somebody being born again, and so it's very emotional.
Thank God.
We had been going with Northwest through Minneapolis. It's a lot quicker, a lot more convenient, and it does provide an alternative for people in Duluth.
Alex said all of a sudden he was flying in the air. He shut his eyes. He was so scared. They went boom, smashed him against the lockers and dropped him to the floor on his butt in the problem.
It was this incident, the last day of school at Woodland Middle School, that caused Solberg's 5th grade son Alex to wear a brace for the next 3 to 6 months. She says students filled out surveys complaining about recess safety, that there was too much fighting, yelling, and bullying, that there were mean kids, and they didn't feel safe. Solberg says she tried for months to deal with the safety issues at Woodland, but her complaints often fell on deaf ears.
You know, the school says this is an acceptable amount of injuries for the amount of children there. Accidents are one thing. Actual fighting, swearing, pushing, hurting, breaking, punching is not acceptable to me.
It's definitely earlier than usual for spring fashions to be unveiled, but some American designers have decided to get a leg up on their European competition by doing their shows early.
A showing by 475 fashion companies shows gray emerging as a big color this spring, along with all shades of pink. Slip dresses will be back for evening and resort wear.
It's a very body-conscious, very feminine evening wear, I would somewhat call it. It's not quite clothes to wear to work, I would say, because it's a little bit more cocktail party. They're very, a lot of draping, a lot of ruching, a lot of spaghetti straps.
We're showing lots of very ultra-feminine, young, hip, very simple designs, but with more luxurious fabrications and embroideries.
You'll also see little gathered peasant sleeves on blouses, boat necks, and 3/4 length sleeves on tops. And skirts are getting longer, but pants are getting shorter.
This spring, we're still making the capri pants. They're a little wider at the bottom than they were last spring. Last spring they were pretty tight. This spring they're going to be wider at the bottom.
And sweater sets will still be in. The sweaters are frequently paired with camisoles or even halter tops, in addition to the more traditional sleeveless shells. The new twist is in the yarn.
We are seeing sweater sets. They will stay, except they're being reincarnated in every way imaginable. Mohair or cashmere for spring. While it's not done in a heavy way, it's done in a very sort of open weave.
The spring skirts don't appear to be as short as they've been, but the styles are long and clingy, so you may have to start on that spring shape-up now. Mark and Michelle?
It's a weekend filled with everything Apple, and it's become a major regional attraction. Dwayne Thorson just drove in from Fargo, North Dakota.
Never been up here before, so I thought I'd come up and see what Apple Fest is all about.
Well, now that you're here, what do you think of Bayfield?
Beautiful, beautiful, love it.
It's a lot of good times, a lot of apples, lots of apple pie, lots of apple treats, so it's Apple Festival. That's what it's all about.
On the outskirts of town, orchard owner Dennis Barrett is stocking up his stand. Jellies, sweet apple squares, and of course, those ripe red Cortland apples by the bushel. Dennis says this is crunch time for harvesting since Apple Fest is the ultimate event for growers.
We usually have good weekends, a couple of weekends before Apple Fest. A lot of people come up, try and beat the crowds, and Apple Fest weekend, of course, is what we're here for.
Bayfield is buzzing with hungry visitors, and the big show has yet to begin. A smell of baked goods drifts down Main Street, and in just hours, the streets will be closed down, and there'll be treats enough for everyone.
For the Bayfield folks, it is. I mean, there's a lot of setup time and a lot of effort that goes in, a lot of pre-planning. The folks that are baking pies have been at it now for a while, and so there really is a lot of effort.
Hi there.
Union leaders and an administrative team met earlier today to decide the future of this, how to keep Duluth's teachers in schools to teach our kids. Teachers are not on strike yet, but some parents shudder at the very thought of it.
It just would send our whole life out of kilter. I want my kids in school. They need to be in school. They need to learn. Granted, I want the teachers to be happy also with their contract.
While teachers feel they don't have much to smile about, and they're hoping they won't have to walk out on students.
Union representatives describe the mood of teachers as one of frustration, anxiety. They've been without a contract for over a year now. But some parents say they have concerns of their own as well, and deciding what to make their little ones for lunch tomorrow isn't the only thing on their mind.
Parents hope the problems teachers are facing outside the classroom won't affect what they're doing inside.
If the teachers are unhappy, I think it'll be reflected in their teaching, and of course then the students, of course, will feel it somehow.
Union President Frank Warner couldn't agree more and realizes students are the ones at the heart of this issue.
We're proud of our student achievement over the last couple of years, and it's important to not lose sight of those things as we all get wrapped up in the process of trying to settle a contract, because in the long run, those are the truly, really important things.
So the one agreement everyone seems to be reaching is that the students are what really matter here. Teachers are still without a contract tonight, but hopefully this common agreement will bring them one step closer to a resolution. In Duluth, Corrine Winter, News 6.
Leaf changes like you see up here, so this is going to be very special this fall, just to be up here where you can kick the leaves and truly enjoy Lake Superior. And I can't think of a better place to come than to come up the North Shore at this time of the year.
Eleanor Smith, along with her mother and her husband, piled into a camper for a breathtaking journey to a land of fall colors.
Looking forward to seeing all the pretty trees, the changing colors, because down there we haven't changed colors yet in Iowa.
They are joining a caravan of campers driving up the North Shore during one of the busiest times of the year. Other big draws for the weekend, grouse hunters are making their way north, and the Bayfield Apple Fest could draw as many as 50,000 visitors ready to taste the appley treats.
Never been up here before, so I thought I'd come up and see what Apple Fest is all about.
That's the plan for a growing number of travelers taking over the tree-lined road.
Starting to pick up a little bit here as we travel north now, more and more travelers.
This is one of the last stretches of green along Miller Trunk Highway in Duluth. And that's why residents on the other side of the highway enjoy bear, deer, and all the land has to offer.
Hate to lose that, but I guess that's progress.
Clarence Couture has lived at 555 Anderson for 28 years.
I'm opposed of anything back there one way or the other, but something's going to go back there one way or the other, I'm sure.
And he'd rather have a mall than a modular housing development, which landowners have considered when Opus failed to win over voters in '96. Yet other residents along Anderson say such housing likely wouldn't come in. It hasn't in the past. Why now?
You know, I think it's just a matter of a scare tactic, like a lot of people say. Okay. You know.
Dana Wood says whatever goes on the land won't be good for adjacent homeowners.
We're sort of against it, just in the sense that it decreases property value mainly, and the noise, and also most of these houses are made with plaster, and the drilling, you know, they're going to end up having to fix the houses that ruin because of it.
The argument is far from new. Voters turned down a larger Opus Mall development in '96 by a 54% on a referendum ballot. And as the vote nears, city councilors are remembering what the people said in letters to the editor of local papers. And while the Opus issue may refuse to die, many Anderson Road residents want to bury it, preferring the city make up its mind one way or the other, so they can move on and possibly move out. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
It originally had been an in-store promotion where we had asked our associates to donate $5 to the Susan G. Komen Foundation for Breast Cancer, and they could wear their casual Lee jeans and their white shirt. We decided to extend it out to our general public by them making a $5 donation. In exchange, they get a certificate for $5 off that they can use in our store.
I know it's tricky, but the jeans, everything is just perfect. Lean back now.
The Budgeteer during the holidays is going to be publishing twice a week on Wednesdays and on the weekends. We're real excited about that. It's a busy season, and many of our customers, both our advertisers and readers, have asked us to publish more often, so we're going to give that a whirl.
Show some of the work that we've been doing, and it's probably a better thing to look up.
Well, one of the gentlemen I was talking to this morning said he has seen more people out there fishing and swimming this year than he really ever has. So I think that's becoming more, it's safer, it's a lot cleaner than it used to be, and so I think that's drawing more people in.
Do you think, is that part of the message that's here today? That
Yes,
it is safer?
it is, and it's cleaner, and there's a lot of really hard work going into keeping it a clean river and keeping it a safe river for children and for people that are fishing and eating the fish out of the river.
The Coast Guard Auxiliary was formed in 1939 to assist the U.S. Coast Guard in some of its duties. Because the Auxiliary is a branch of the Department of Transportation, not the Department of Defense, those duties don't include military ones.
Surface operations, we go out on patrol, usually on weekends, and while we're on patrol, our main function is to look for distressed vessels.
The auxiliary people learn how to help those distressed vessels by conducting exercises with the Coast Guard.
Okay, we're going out on this vessel, Jim Munger's vessel here. We're going to go out and become a simulated distressed vessel, and the Coast Guard's going to be out there to rescue us.
We'll be about to conduct some drills, and I will call on 23 as though it was on 16 for the drill purposes, and we will be the vessel in distress. Over.
This is a drill, Coast Guard Auxiliary 02, this is Coast Guard Station Duluth. Are you in any immediate danger, over?
Not right now, unless the wind blows us onto the rocks on the shore. The wind is blowing us right across the harbor. Right now, everything seems to be under control. Over.
And within minutes of that radio message, the seafaring boys in blue and orange were on the scene. Since the Coast Guard Auxiliary is not a military service, there's no basic training. All you have to do to join is take some seamanship classes and attend a monthly meeting. If you'd like to join this volunteer service organization, the best thing to do is to log on to the Coast Guard's website at www.uscg.mil. They'll ask a local representative to contact you. As the auxiliary people told me, it's a great way to help people in time of crisis and get a free boat ride. On Lake Superior, Dave Anderson, News 6.
Nancy Nielsen is a Duluth native. She graduated from UMD, and she was the first person to get a job at DMR Consulting.
I was just thrilled. Just the idea of being able to have a large firm of this size coming into Duluth and the opportunities that it opens up for us. It's not something that you have in the size city that we have. So.
DMR employs 21 people trained in computer technology. Jobs here are paying in upwards of $50,000 a year. Managers say the business at DMR is already so good, the company may soon grow.
In terms of number of people, my aspirations would be to grow this thing to 250 people here someday and to serve clients all over North America.
And DMR is exactly the kind of company that city leaders are working hard to recruit.
Soon, this heap of rubble will become the technology village. DMR plans to move their offices into the space, and now city leaders are challenged with trying to find more tenants to move into the multi-million-dollar facility.
It makes it a whole lot easier to go to try to recruit businesses into a building when you know you're going to have a building. We had to kind of put things on hold for a while there because of the lawsuit that was going on and the challenge, but now we're back on track.
In total, 4 companies are committed to the Tech Village. Although there's still a lot of empty space to fill, Mayor Gary Doty says success seems certain and the goal remains clear.
It's to bring the higher paying technology types jobs to our community. It's the type of jobs that we can graduate our young people from our colleges and our universities in this area, and they can go to work in Duluth rather than having to move to St. Paul.
In the long run, it's hoped the Tech Village will bring 800 new jobs, a major revitalization of downtown, and a stronger economy to Duluth. City leaders say having DMR in town accomplishes one small goal. If they keep pushing, the ball should keep on rolling. In Duluth, Adam May, News 6.
We're seeing here today shows how strong.
Duluth school administrators and police say it was an unfortunate incident. No student should be locked up for 2 days without the parents being notified.
It's difficult, and it's not uncommon for us to run into situations where the information for phone numbers just isn't available. I'm sure the school district is going to take a closer look at that.
But one thing school administrators say parents and students need to pay attention to is the no tolerance of violence policy in the Duluth School District. And school officials say they hope the incident that happened last Friday will serve as a lesson that unruly conduct in schools is not acceptable.
When a student is invading another person's opportunity to learn, be that through verbal, be that through physical aggressive acts, we have a duty to all of the students and faculty, staff in a building to deal with that.
Teachers say students are exposed to the standards of acceptable conduct in schools. Some schools even go as far as incorporating this no-tolerance policy in social studies classes.
All of Duluth Public Schools have a copy of this, the Student Policy Handbook, which outlines the school's disciplinary policy in addition to other things. Parents and students get a copy of this book each school year, so school officials say there's no excuse when a student breaks school rules.
School leaders say beyond their handbook, they plan to improve how they communicate policies to students and their families. In Duluth, Corrine Winter, News 6.
And if, for example, the board acts on Tuesday night to pass the resolution that they're considering, that will probably mean that there will be a strike.
Those words from the union president could spell a turning point in the hunt for a new teacher's contract. Last week, school board member Harry Welty was one of those asking for public comment before a contract proposal gets a final approval.
My concern is that the contract talks are going to significantly impact what we are able to offer in the future, and I would like to hear from the general public what they think about that.
And the taxpayers advocate group FIGHT jumped in line to support the idea.
We will find out this evening if the school board members represent the taxpayers, the people who pay the bills for government, and the students of the school district, or we will find out that they in truth represent the teachers' union. The full disclosure resolution that is going to be discussed at the board meeting tonight, if enacted, would require the school board
the poll where they showed that Humphrey was much stronger, 49% I think it was, came right after the primary, and everybody's focus was on the primary, and he won the primary. And it's kind of like at the time of a convention. After a convention, the candidate who's nominated always gets a bump and up, and that helped Humphrey have competition, so he didn't get that kind of a bump. And so it then kind of settles down after that. I didn't expect it to be that high, but I didn't expect the drop to be that fast.
Wow. His head looks just like a shark. I don't think there are any records of that mouth.
Yeah, that's great.
Historical fishes like this. 100 years.
70 years old.
Odds are if anybody catches anything remotely close to that size, they're not going to put it in here. So they're going to take it to the nearest bait store and get it weighed.
We moved here from Alaska in 1993. My wife and I had no lung problems. About 6 to 8 months after we came down here, we started getting a hacking cough the doctor thought was bronchitis. They ran every test they can run through. They didn't have a clue. Last night reading the paper, I found out, gee, it's a lung irritant, and I'm living in the middle of this. We're going to talk to the doctor about that.
We've concluded negotiations for the day, and I have given both parties some items that I've asked that they take back and consider with their constituents.
The mediator wouldn't say more about what these items are, but the biggest sticking points during these talks have been teachers' salary and benefits.
And some of the issues under discussion are very, very important issues, which is why there won't be probably an incredible breakthrough. It'll be a matter of chipping away at things and fitting the pieces together.
Now both sides will have to discuss how flexible they can be before they meet with the mediator again.
I don't have any real definite time as to when they're going to get back to me with their responses, but I've asked it to be as expedient as it possibly can be, and I expect to hear an answer in a few days, and we'll see where we go from there.
A chance to get involved in a variety of ways, whether or not it's looking at yourself and the impact you can have on reducing violence, or how you can reduce it in your family by teaching your children different ways to play and conflict resolution, The week really does help and provide an opportunity for families to get involved and have conversations around anti-violence issues.
But now it can have a domino effect, because if they needed to use that class as either a prerequisite to another class or that class to meet a grad standard, they can jeopardize their graduation early on.
The most recent statistics on smoking among teens are alarming, especially here in the Northland. Currently, about 30% of teenagers living in northern Minnesota are lighting up.
We want to see the parents, the educators, the health educators, the public health departments, the law enforcement, all the people that were here today to be able to come together and do their part to help prevent this epidemic that's been raging all over our state and all over the United States.
Working with the American Lung Association, Jan Salo Corby asked Carleton County to pass strong laws aimed at curbing teen smoking trends. After dozens of friends testified in support of the idea, the county board gave the okay. The new tobacco ordinance prohibits self-serve tobacco displays, bans vending machines, requires annual no-sale to minor compliance checks, and could strengthen the fines for those who violate the law. But perhaps the biggest change will be in cigarette displays.
Counties need to look at really taking and putting all the tobacco behind the counter so that you get it out of the class of the baseball cards and the candy and the potato chips. Kids need to realize this is something different, and I'm not to be using it.
The kids will tell me that they steal it, and like I say earlier, they've even said there's some stores that are just absolute easy targets.
Some store managers currently displaying cigarettes with easy access agree it's time for a change. Jenny Isaacson from the little store near Carleton High School says it could even save the store money.
They just kind of stand here and while their friend's paying and just try to sneak them into their pocket.
These behind-the-counter display rules already apply in other places such as St. Louis County, and there's a similar ordinance in the city of Cloquet. But Juvenile Coordinator Randy Flynn is quick to point out that many kids will try to get the cigarettes anyway, risking fines in upwards of $200. And once the teens start smoking tobacco, it can get worse.
We're finding that kids that get involved with tobacco, not everyone, but obviously a good percentage get involved with other things. You know, the next thing is the marijuana.
And if that's not bad enough, teen tobacco users have a greater chance of getting cancer, having a stroke, even becoming impotent. Many hope this new law will steer kids away from smoking and its dangerous consequences. In Carleton, Adam May, News 6.
The Thompson tax plan is clearly ill-defined. He says, let's wait till after November.
Taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin. We owe a $1.8 billion tax cut to everybody across the board. And 90% of the money is going to go to those individuals making less than $95,000.
The Lawton approach is much different. We need to help the middle-income parents. We also want to help those at the bottom who are is clearly ill-defined. He says, let's wait till after November.
Taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin. We owe a $1.8 billion tax cut to everybody across the board. And 90% of the money is going to go to those individuals making less than $95,000.
The Garvey-Lawton approach is much different. We need to help.
Can't get any of this information. He may be, if he's this is a high-risk offender. Also known as, this is pretty interesting. You can see it. And what they found was people who were doing babysitting work that in fact were serious predators and convicted sex offenders. People who were Girl Scout and Boy Scout leaders who were convicted sex offenders. People who were just hanging around the parks in violation of their probation who in fact were convicted sex offenders. To produce 100 CD-ROMs with this information, it would be $1,000.
Oh, really? I didn't know how much it cost to produce. It's amazing to me how some people can still get through the system.
You can't hit anything. I went on egg with BZ.
Oh, I just love Halloween. It's so much fun. It's a no-hassle holiday. It's just great.
So far, a few of them. Says we got to go to around this neighborhood yet today.
We're looking for help from the public. We need if people see anything suspicious, we need to have them call us and let us know. We need some help. We need there are eyes and our ears out there, and we need help from the public.
I'm talking about Raven! Mongo, you ain't nothing. Mongo, black and white.
Man, it's awesome, man. Like, wrestling is awesome. Hollywood Hogan, baby. The black and white's the bomb.
They come from all walks of life to see professional wrestling. It's a pretty simple sport. Two men trapped in a ring, beating each other up until one man can fight no more. Millions of people pack arenas every year to see this showing of strength.
A lot of fun here. We're having a great time. We came from Chisholm. We're just having a blast. It's my first one, but I watch it every week on TV.
And so do hundreds of millions of fans. In many parts of the country, professional wrestling is one of the most popular syndicated TV programs. Sometimes it draws more viewers than the evening news. To explain this craze, we asked an expert at the University of Wisconsin at Superior.
Wrestling is one of the rituals that we have in this country. The values are right there on the surface. You don't have to dig for them. They're not subtle. They're right there. How do you tell a good guy from a bad guy? Hey, it's not hard with wrestling.
Professor Richard Ball wrote the book Professional Wrestling, the Ritual Drama in American Popular Culture. He says wrestling has dozens of themes: the notion of good versus evil, experience against youth, dominance versus oppression, and believe it or not, wrestling also reflects the political climate.
Switch from the Adolf Hitler lookalikes and the bad Japanese to the bad Iranians or bad Russians or whatever the political climate requires at any given time.
You might think wrestling is trendy, one of those sports that could disappear, but Professor Ball thinks differently.
Nature of wrestling itself may change. There may be some shifts in how it's presented, but I think that that medium is probably here to stay.
And so will the body slams, the forearm smashes, and the flying drop kicks. And the fans of this sport expect nothing less. In Duluth, Adam May, News 6.
Let's do it. There we go. All right.
As each candidate for Minnesota governor stomps for last-minute votes, each is carrying a message in the last few hours before the election, targeting certain age groups and interests. A new Star Tribune KMSP poll focuses on who's popular with whom. DFL candidate Skip Humphrey is bringing in 42% of likely female voters.
Skip Humphrey. He's got a lot of history in the state and a lot of experience in government, and
he's my man.
You know, Humphrey looks pretty good. He's got a lot of good things. I'm concerned about education, and he seems to be really, that's one of his focuses.
Newcomer Jesse Ventura is hitting it big with new voters.
He's just more or less like just a lot of more promise for like the schools and.
Because he seems like a good person, like he'd probably be able to do it.
And Republican candidate Norm Coleman has drawn in support from unlikely sources, Democrats in northern Minnesota. The latest polls show his support is across the board.
Well, I just believe a lot of things he stands for.
I'm going to vote for Norm Thompson.
Norm Coleman?
Norm Coleman, yeah.
Coleman, because I like the way he thinks and he's a good Republican.
The race will be close and the numbers may be high. The Minnesota Secretary of State has predicted a 53% turnout.
I don't think I have missed a single election since I was old enough to vote.
And as the campaign winds down, some voters still haven't made up their mind, with an estimated 9% still undecided.
I will definitely vote tomorrow, but I really haven't decided yet. I'm going to read up tonight and decide who I'm voting for sure. But it's a really close race, and it's close in my mind, too.
And it's those voters who are the target in the last few hours. Now the question is, will each candidate have enough time to convince enough voters? In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, News 6.
And you know why I'm smiling? I have no fear about working in the private sector. I think those two have a lot of fear of it. You know, they never did it. Let's go.
The business is we sell nostalgia in a jar.
The two businesses are as different as night and day, but they have one thing in common, the name Minnesota Wild. 8 years ago, Jay Erkenbrecht chose this name for his specialty crop enterprise. He buys locally grown products and turns them into these commodities which you see lining his store shelves.
We do a line of wild berry jellies, syrups, honeys, wild rice pancake mix.
All of the berries are picked in Minnesota. Minnesota Wild buys them from local growers in season, and then they juice the berries, and from that juice, that's where the jellies and syrups and honeys are made.
Minnesota Wild also makes and sells 15 different wines, all from locally grown fruit. He's been running the business out of his McGregor headquarters for 8 years now and says it means everything to him.
Grandma was in the kitchen making jelly, and Grandpa was in the basement making wine, and that's kind of the back to a simpler times kind of philosophy or mentality is what we try to accomplish here.
Jay feels his business is threatened by the new NHL expansion hockey team, which will come to Minnesota in the year 2000. Last January, the team's owner, Bob Negley, announced he'd call the team the Minnesota Wild. The Secretary of State's office let them trademark the name, despite the fact that Erkenbrecht had trademarked the same name 8 years earlier.
They filed as limited partners, and so it is different than Minnesota Wild. And they filed as Minnesota Wild Hockey Club.
There are 42 trademark categories in Minnesota. Jay's trademark is in the food area. The hockey team's trademark is in the limited partner category, and as such, they can use the name and sell items related to the name, such as hats and T-shirts.
Our office is only authorized to accept or to reject filings. And so in this particular case, where Minnesota Wild feels that this name is going to infringe on their business and they feel that it's a detriment to them, I'm afraid their only recourse is to go to the courts.
That's exactly what Jay Erkenbrecht is doing, but it's costing him a small fortune as his lawyers prepare a case. It's an expense that could end up costing Erkenbrecht his small northern Minnesota business. In McGregor, Barbara Riles, News 6. Minnesotans love their hockey. When the Minnesota North Stars left in 1993, most people hoped hockey would come back soon. Well, that time has come. Twin Cities businessman Bob Negley announced earlier this year that he's purchased an NHL expansion team and will bring it to Minnesota in the year 2000. He chose the name Minnesota Wild. And that's when the trouble began for Jay Erkenbrack, president of Minnesota Wild of McGregor.
We thought we'd played by all the rules and done everything that we were supposed to do, and to be honest, we thought we were perfectly protected in what we wanted to do.
But Jay didn't know the rules of this game.
And if you file a trademark name like Minnesota Wild in the food category, that means that no one else can come in and file that name in that category. What it also means is that someone could come in and file Minnesota Wild in the machine category or the vehicle category. So it doesn't protect you across the board.
Erkenbrack doesn't think that's fair and has hired lawyers to fight to prevent the team from taking his name. He fears people will come to associate the name Minnesota Wild with hockey and not fine wines and food products. He says it's already beginning.
The grocery stores and liquor stores, we've seen the sales drop. And that's what scares us the most, is us being associated with a sports team. Sports teams may sell tennis shoes and athletic apparel, but it's been our history that it does not sell quality food and wine.
Erkenbrack says he'll fight any way he can to block the hockey team from keeping the name, even though the fight is proving expensive.
It has hurt us. Besides, it's all consuming. It's taking all your time and thought and energies. All your decisions are based on what-ifs, based on the legal problems, instead of sound business decisions.
Before the battle began, Erkenbrack was ready to expand into several new lines. He had 14 new food items to add to his sales selections, including some innovative berry salsas and salad dressings. But the legal battle has forced those plans to the back burner.
We have very large legal bills, and so far it's coming out of cash flow, but there are limits to that.
Minnesota Wild hockey spokesman refused to comment on camera, but a position statement they provided to us says the team made Erkenbrack an offer to help, but that offer was rejected. The offer was to allow Erkenbrack to sell his products at hockey games. Erkenbrack called that ridiculous.
Professional sports may sell tennis shoes and athletic apparel, but it hasn't been our experience that it helps sell food products.
Erkenbrack says unless Negley offers him a deal he can live with, he'll continue to fight, even if it takes every cent he's got. In McGregor, Barbara Riles, News 6.
It's not every day an elected official like this walks our way, but it's happened. Minnesota Governor-elect Jesse Ventura has come a long way, from the steps of the squared circle to the steps of the State House. Come Monday, this reformist and his transition team will move into the Capitol.
I think it's a very unique position because before, both houses have always been Democrat. Now we've got one of each. We've got an executive who belongs to neither. We have a Republican House and a Democrat Senate. And so I think it'll work very well that we can hopefully move forward and find, government is compromising. Nobody gets everything that they want.
Jesse already has a lot on his plate as he steps into his new role as governor, a role with these duties behind it. Besides reviewing bills passed by the legislature and vetoing any he disapproves of, Ventura will also propose ideas to the legislature and oversee state government operations, such as environmental, health, and financial matters. He also has the power to dispatch the National Guard for emergency duty. But before handling any of these responsibilities, Ventura's first step is to appoint department heads for his cabinet. Governor Arne Carlson said he'd work with Ventura in his transition into state office, but an obviously frustrated spokesperson of Governor Carlson delivered this statement earlier today. We have to hand over a $12 billion enterprise to Ventura. He has an agency briefing handbook that outlines all the details he needs to run the government. Carlson's spokesperson went on to say it's in Ventura's best interest to get down to the business of government instead of getting caught up in the media circus surrounding him now. Many see Ventura as a bigger-than-life superstar with superhuman status. But in his victory speech, the governor-elect wanted the world to remember one thing.
You know, I'm human. I'll probably make mistakes. But let's remember, we all make them, and if they're mistakes...
Some say Ventura's biggest challenge was making it this far, but many would agree the real work has just begun. In Duluth, Corrine Winter, News 6.
Get Mom and Dad off the couch. Tell them we think there's a tornado coming. To teach me about tornadoes and lightning.
Hands, can you go over and turn the lights on or off?
She's gonna grab it now. If I'm gonna pull her back, if I'm standing... Show me what you do. Show me what you do if there's room.
Why'd that teach you? Well, in a tornado, you can hide in your basement and cover your head and stay close to the ground.
A lot of times the kids get in situations where there isn't an adult around to take care of things, and they kind of need to know what to do in those situations. And
Mice, and a lady reminded me today of babies too. Sometimes they crawl around, they like to chew on stuff. I have a dog at her home, her name's Angie, and she had lumps in her mouth. They do that once a month. Okay, it's a real good thing. If it doesn't pop out, it means it isn't working right.
Panic! This is going to be the very first time they're going to take a look at one of these statements, and it's going to be worth less than it was last time around. Unheard of.
Financial planners everywhere are bracing to hear from horrified clients.
It's one phone call I've been getting. We've been with you for 3 or 4 years. I never got a statement that was lower than the current one. What do we do?
Perhaps a more appropriate question would be, what shouldn't we do?
Probably going to look at it and go, ugh. And then I'm going to calm down and realize it happens. This is the ups and downs of the market, and I'm not in the market for the short term. I'm in it for the long term.
Adam and his family have the right idea, according to financial planners, who encourage sitting tight during the dips in this ride. Overall, all stock funds are down almost 15% for the quarter, including world, domestic, and sector equity funds. It sounds bad, but keep in mind 401k investors have been spoiled by years of bull market returns.
An individual should know that long-term growth must experience volatility. It is not a perpetual one-way up trip.
So the bottom line, the experts say, is sit this out for the time being and keep an ear to what the analysts continue to say.
A burglar and arsonist struck at Central Little League Sunday, November 1st in Duluth. Sometime before 5 o'clock in the morning, a man tried to break into the ball field's concession stand. He couldn't get in there, so he cut the padlock on the storage shed. He rummaged through the building and removed some items. When he finished ransacking the shed, he set it on fire. The building contained lawnmowers and baseball equipment. What wasn't stolen was destroyed by the fire. Their uninsured loss was over $10,000. Central Little League relies on registration fees and donations to serve 400 neighborhood youth. If you would like to help them, call 724-8243. Call Crime Stoppers if you know who the arsonist is. We'll give the information to the police, and you will remain anonymous. Our numbers are 1-800-974-TIPS or 723-ENOUGH. That's 723-3683.
This all started with the Cynthia Albright issue, and now we're talking about investigating the attorney.
I think investigated, or the city attorney was involved in this cause of action. I think there's an obvious conflict, although Mr. Dinan is already on record as saying that he would call for an unbiased or third-party person to investigate whether or not there may have been misconduct on the part of city attorneys.
И в Республике Карелия сейчас новое правительство, и у нас есть вот такая визит.
Also in all of Russia. Breakdown of the people, patients who turn to us for assistance is still women.
Велстон и конгрессмен Оберстар с
Violence in the family.
И как правильно сотрудник милиции
For the woman involved for her fate, it's very important what is the decision which the police officer who arrives at the scene will make. For her fate, it's very important what is the decision which the police officer who arrives at the scene will make.
И поэтому, конечно, вот эти контакты, которые у нас установились с Центром планирования семьи, они очень важны.
Between the flower deliveries, the construction project,
Good morning, Governor Elect Ventura's office. May I help you?
and the endless calls pouring into the office,
It's crazy, isn't it? But it's fun.
it's hard to see the wheels of government actually grinding, but they are. Deep in the warren of offices given over to the transition, work is actually getting done.
What's been going on this morning?
Well, strategy meetings for Brainerd. Big game Friday night.
Seriously, Governor-elect Ventura says they are making progress, but admittedly taking it slow.
We're going to look at all options available, and we're going to do them in our due time because I don't want to make mistakes.
But even Ventura has no idea how many people want to share a little of his glory. Hundreds of job seekers have called, the mail is full of resumes, and the most intrepid actually venture in, like Harlan Anderson, who'd like to be considered for Agriculture Commissioner.
Oh, I get the feeling that this governor is going to let his commissioners run their departments. Where in the past, I think Governor Carlson tried to do more, run it himself.
But in truth, no one knows what to expect from Jesse Ventura, the jeans-wearing, jest-making governor-elect who's turning the state capitol upside down. In a lifetime of constant self-invention, Jesse Ventura speaks most nostalgically of his 4 years as a Navy SEAL. So Veterans Day is more than just ceremonies and obligation, and the veterans seem to sense that.
Good to see you.
Good to see you. God bless you. Maybe we get
Accompanied by Senator Paul Wellstone, who likes to remember his own college wrestling days, the two dropped in on patients on the intensive care ward, thrilling this older vet recovering from surgery.
How you doing? Yeah. We did it. We did it.
You doing all right?
So it's fine. I just get a little excited. That's all right. You get as excited as you want.
See that deep grass right there?
Yeah.
They lay in there this time of day.
that whole hillside over there.
Like every deer hunter parent, I've looked forward to passing on the family hunting tradition to my son. I got the chance Saturday and quickly discovered what every parent finds out. It is as stressful as it is rewarding.
So that you're not sending a shot through brush or trees, because there could be somebody on the other side of the brush or the trees.
After a cold and uneventful morning on stand, we headed for camp and our hunting partners. This group has hunted together for over 20 years, and one of the challenges for Christopher is keeping up with the constant joking around.
See anything? Yeah. Nothing. Heard one go by below us, but didn't see it.
Below you?
Below.
Did he go between the... How did he go below you?
It was a little one.
With the fun comes the serious responsibility of handling a loaded weapon. Like every young hunter, Chris has had to pass firearm safety training. Still, the possibility of actually shooting gave him lots to think about.
I'm ready, and I'm a bit nervous. I don't know how I'm going to react when a deer comes. First, I got to check if it has antlers, because we're hunting bucks only. And then I make sure if any of my guys are on the other side of that deer. Then if everything's okay, I aim, and then I pull the trigger.
You see the size of all these big oaks, you know.
For many, hunting is a way to enjoy the forest at its most beautiful season. And passing on the skills learned from years in the woods keeps a tradition alive.
The deer are going to be moving ahead of these guys. And they're going to be moving along, just staying away from the threat that they hear back there. And all they got to do is see you move unnaturally away from a tree or something like that, or wipe your nose or sneeze or whatever, and they'll be gone, down or up in a flash, and you'll never even hear them or see them. Keep it real quiet. Here.
Yeah, I can hear them.
Trumpeter swans.
Sometimes even the most dedicated 13-year-old hunter needs a quick nap. Chris caught his on a late afternoon drive as the sun warmed his south-facing hillside.
Hey, you fell asleep.
No, I didn't. I was still there.
You were snoring.
By day's end, it was time to reflect on the experience.
I feel very lucky because my dad's a very experienced hunter. He makes it pretty easy. So, he doesn't get on my case if I do a little thing wrong.
Our opening weekend ended a little short on deer, but that's okay. There was plenty of time together, time for a son to show respect and love, time for a father to teach and be proud. Dave Janch, News 6.
For some students, this computer class might be an introduction to computers. Others are here with prior college education, but they're switching career paths midstream. Their backgrounds are different, but they come to class setting their sights on one common goal.
You know, if you continue to learn and do the things that you need to do to grow in the industry, you're going to go far.
Computer student Mark Bartell is at Duluth Business University for one reason, the Duluth Technology Village. One high-tech firm is already on board the Tech Village project, and others are expected to follow suit.
Who knows what they're going to bring to town? A lot of opportunity, though, I think.
Opportunity, yes, if you've got the training these companies can use. Enrollment is way up for computer programming and networking classes.
It's getting bigger in Duluth. Minneapolis is huge. Minneapolis, you know, these guys write their tickets. They get done and they have a job waiting, basically.
That sort of demand is exactly what these students hope to cash in on. And it's what could turn the Twin Ports into a high-tech hub of the Midwest.
I'm looking forward to getting a good paying job, and it's nice that I'll be able to stay in the area too.
I think if it pans out, it'll be the best thing that happened to Duluth in years, probably even since the mining industry.
In Duluth, Jason Rice, News 6.
Storm clouds, tornadoes, hail, all of the key elements of the movie Twister. It's a good thing our weather's not that exciting. Or is it? Monday, June 1st, 7 p.m. Tornado sirens blare across the area as funnel clouds are spotted and a series of active storms dump a quick 1.25 inches of rain on Duluth. The excitement sent Miller Hill Mall shoppers scurrying for cover.
The lights started to flicker, and they decided, I guess, for safety, that they needed to get all the customers into the center of the building. So the employees started going around, and they ushered everybody away from the doors and away from the windows, which were shaking, by the way, just shaking. And so we all kind of huddled into the middle of the store in front of the escalators.
Tuesday, July 14th, 6 p.m. A large roll cloud approaches the Twin Ports, interrupting a beautiful 85-degree day. Storms spawned from this same system triggered damaging lightning and winds up on the range and even some pea-sized hail in Duluth. Sunday, August 23rd, 7 p.m. A typical summer evening thunderstorm brings us half of August's precipitation as well as a whole lot of hail. 1.5-inch diameter hail covered the ground in Hermantown, while West Duluth saw baseball-sized icy missiles.
Went to the window and saw golf ball-sized hail. They were pretty big. I haven't seen hail this size in my life. So it was pretty fun. I waited for about 10-15 minutes and it let up, went outside. The whole ground was covered. It was quite a sight, and I was making ice balls in the middle of summer.
A movie like Twister can even make our weather seem tame in comparison, but remember that old Northland saying, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. Now granted, it's not as flashy as killer tornadoes tossing cows around, but it's more than enough to keep most of us on our toes. For News 6, I'm meteorologist Keith Marler.
I like it a lot because I never saw snow before, so my wish was seeing a snowman and doing a snowman too. Then I'm doing it.
Okay, what are you doing?
Rolling more. Here, huh? Yeah.
We've been studying time words, and this will be an excellent sequencing activity because we can begin by talking about what she did first and next and after that and finally, and those kinds of words that are important at this stage of her language development.
Established by the board. Member Cameron, would you read?
Two questions. One on, I guess that, yeah.
By saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. That resolution.
I want to emphasize that we are not here trying to distance ourselves from the other side. We are here to maintain our common ground, the education of Duluth's public school students.
I can tell you that everyone I know of that has gotten well, and I'm here to tell you there are a lot of us that are well, many of us that are well throughout the United States.
Diagnosed with fibromyalgia, Mary Moeller has spent the last 4 years symptom-free. Recently, hundreds of Northlanders packed Fitger's auditorium to hear her message of hope.
But I can honestly see that every step in my life was a necessary step for me to be able to do what I'm doing now, which is what I love most.
Fibromyalgia often strikes young women. It affects soft muscle tissue, causing pain, fatigue, sleep disturbances, depression, and anxiety. People with rheumatic diseases such as rheumatoid arthritis are more vulnerable. A diagnosis can often be missed.
I think that it is very difficult to diagnose. There are a lot of folks out there, for example, that don't believe that it exists. And I think you have to have a mindset, first of all, that it really does exist.
Well, I can tell you the symptoms are real, and it is hell. The people that are living with fibromyalgia live a living hell.
Doctors who recognize fibromyalgia work with their patients to address the diseases and symptoms associated with the syndrome. Treatment often includes pain and stress management. Medication may also be prescribed to aid sleep. Physical therapy, a balanced diet, and exercise often rounds out the list of accepted treatments.
For me to stay healthy and well, I continue to exercise every single day. That's something I don't miss.
Besides daily exercise, Mary also follows a balanced diet. In her book, The Fibromyalgia Cookbook, Mary outlines a plan to gradually reduce and eliminate the use of chocolate, carbonated beverages, caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, and refined sugar.
Just so you feel better, I saw a psychologist a number of times.
During her popular lectures, she promotes journaling, deep breathing, massage therapy, and acupressure. She also credits vitamins and nutritional supplements for her wellness. From vitamin E to glucosamine to garlic to echinacea, Mary describes a lengthy list of herbal and vitamin products she says helps her fight fibromyalgia. That's where Mary and traditional medicine part company in the treatment of this syndrome.
That if you look at the, especially the lay literature that is out there, there are all kinds of theories about various things you can do with your diet. Bottom line is there's been no controlled study that I'm aware of that's shown any benefit from any of the dietary measures.
Despite the lack of scientific study, Mary believes it works, and she believes the road she took to wellness can be traveled by anyone suffering with fibromyalgia.
Takes anyway, and what I usually tell people is that to plan next year on doing all of these things you're not able to do this year.
Deer hunting season in Wisconsin opened with a bang. Hunters headed out early this morning and headed back with these later in the day. But some hunters say the really exciting part of opening day had to do more with how they felt instead of what they caught.
Well, the weather was really nice, and I shot this about, it was about 11 o'clock, and then I had the trailer for quite a ways, and I got it about noon. But yeah, I'd say the weather was nice because you could sit for quite a while. It's nice to, just a little four-pointer, but it was a lot of fun. Long drag out, but that's when the work begins after you shoot them. So.
Some local store owners got a taste of opening day as hunters from everywhere flocked in to register their prize.
They've been pretty excited, I guess, just to get it over with the first day.
But there are still 8 more days left in the firearms season. Wildlife managers predict 350,000 deer will be killed this year. Corrine Winter, News 6.
This is investigator Scott Voigt for Crime Stoppers Crime of the Week. This week, the Douglas County Sheriff's Department is asking for your help. Lakeside Township is a rural community just east of Superior, Wisconsin. During September, October, and early November, vandals burned at least 5 buildings, including 2 cabins, 2 storage sheds, and a barn. All of these fires were set during the daytime. Arson is a nasty habit. It's also a crime. Let's stop these fires before more property is destroyed or somebody is injured. If you know who's responsible for setting these fires, call Crime Stoppers. You could earn a cash reward, and you will remain anonymous. Our number is 218-723-ENOUGH. That's 218-723-3683.
It's a mix. It's a mix. We don't like the fact that our benefits have been cut a little bit, and we understand that it has to be a compromise.
I think most people are positive. There's always a few disgruntled no matter what you would do, I suppose, but I think overwhelmingly we will have an approval of this contract.
Okay. Find a private little space and you can mark your crib. I don't just doing this. Then I quit. Then I quit. Yeah. Over in the right-hand column after you recite.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
She was that bad. May take a test in your center.
Oh, yes.
So I just put it.
Yeah, right. Not to fold it, because then you have to unfold it. That takes I'm not unfolding it. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hope.
Well,
I
like it easy one.
I gotta pick my wife for UMD.
Okay.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Just so thankful that he's able to walk and talk and do everything normal, and yet to be able to play sports right now is an extra blessing that we have to be thankful for.
They hoped for the best, but were told to expect the worst. Doctors said Ryan McKella, a two-sport letter winner, would live, but would never play baseball or hockey again. This Thanksgiving, the McKella family will give thanks in a new way.
Initially, when he went into the hospital, we thought it was just a bump on the head, and then it progressed to the point where they didn't think he was going to make it through the night.
It was June 9th, a warm summer day at the baseball field. Ryan McKella was on the mound pitching for batting practice when a line drive struck him in the head, fracturing his skull. While his teammates were headed to the state tournament, Ryan was in a coma recovering from major surgery. Within days, Ryan was out throwing a ball again, something no one ever expected. His close friend Seth Marsalek says Ryan changed his life.
Kind of one more big thing to be thankful for. I mean, I never took it for granted in the first place, knowing that any day could just kind of end, but I don't know, it puts my life, not only my life, but other people around me in my eyes in a new perspective. Ryan's life has come full circle, defying the odds, defying doctors' predictions, and now playing a prominent role on one of the best high school hockey teams in Minnesota. His parents say it's not about sports, it's about hanging on to a loved one, and they're not taking a moment of it for granted.
Everybody was amazed. Everybody kept saying, this is a miracle, and it really was a miracle.
We're plenty glad that we have everybody back with us this year.
Back there.
Department stores are real hectic.
Are they?
Stores with carts.
Stores with carts are bad.
Yes, Best Buy, 50 in line.
Has it been absolutely nuts so
Awful, awful. No, but it's fun. It's a challenge. It's a rush. It's a lot of fun. People are in good spirits.
And we're all just amazed at how well the snow's holding up, and we're praying we get a little snow there in the next night or two. They're talking just to blanket the snow and make it look white around here, just to give us all that feel. But the racing's awesome.
There's the start, 266, Mike McLaughlin on the players, 267. Focusing now that he stepped to the pros on really just racing and racing hard. Obvious reason because he ruled on the ice and then he made the switch to snowcross. So he picked up the name. I'm not kidding. He has just absolutely determined and set his mind to becoming a top flight snowcross pilot. And nothing got in his way, nothing distracted him. Very impressive. Last year, right in the Pacific Zone. He had a great day yesterday. And then Lanali Sanitation on the one-stop where 625 TJ Eckert. And the Woodies, Eckert Trucking. Downhill we go. It's 3:15. That's Whitworth. Oh, didn't last long. Whitworth led it. Judgment worked the outside. Got him. So it's Judgment and Whitworth.
For most of us, money is tight, especially this time of year. And while most want to give something to help the less fortunate, no one wants to get ripped off.
They asked me to sign the check and to leave it at my door with deposit only on it, and that they would come and collect it. So after I hung up, I got suspicious.
It was just a $10 donation, but this woman found out later her $10 went to a bogus veterans group. The Federal Trade Commission says that's just one of the ways millions of dollars a year ends up in the hands of fraudulent charity operations. A national survey just released by the American Association of Retired Persons shows Americans are generous, perhaps to a fault.
We're not very savvy as to who we're giving. We don't even ask questions. Where's the money going? What will it be used for?
To alert the uninformed, the AARP is conducting a reverse boiler room operation. Volunteers are calling people whose names appear on so-called mooch sheets used by fraudulent operators to warn them of bogus charity calls. So that you don't give to a fake, be suspicious if the caller claims the money will be used locally. If the name of a fallen officer or a firefighter is used, beware.
One very simple rule is that anyone claiming to be your local police or local firefighters almost invariably is impersonating or posing as someone he or she is not.
If the caller mentions a past donation you've made and you don't remember it, check your records. Or if the charity's name sounds familiar to a legitimate charity but is not exactly the same, that's often an indicator that it's fake. Before you give to any charity, you should ask for its tax number and documentation showing exactly how much of what is raised goes to the worthy cause. If so-called administrative costs seem too high to you, they probably are.
According to prosecutors, placed Jamie Lee Abbott at the scene of the crime and detailed his actions the night of the murder. Now, there's still a chance that Abbott can be convicted on the evidence without all of that testimony?
We'll go forward. We think it's very critical and important to our case, but obviously we'll go forward with the case, whatever the decision is.
We're getting just as much done as we would in the summertime, even with shorter days.